Chase, and today we're gonna be talking about Machiavelli, Nicola. I guess my question to you guys is, like, when you think about like Machiavelli, what do you think about?
Machiavelli, you said?
Yeah.
Control.
Machiavelli?
Machiavelli.
I know not Tupac.
Yeah, those are some of the things. I mean, me personally, I always think about Tupac. I mean, but it's an interesting fact about that is, like, Tupac, when he was incarcerated, he studied Machiavelli, Nicola, and he changed the name to Machiavelli, and then if you drop the C and the K, you can rearrange like the letters, and it spells "I am alive." So thought that was kind of interesting. But back to Nicola, like he was born, he was a Renaissance man. He was born in 1469, and he was secretly admired. I mean, he attempted to teach rulers of his time how to get and hold on to power. So, of course, he was full of deceit, things like that. I mean, to keep power, you have to manipulate people, basically. He's been accredited to, Machiavelli has been credited with having turned politics into science. So I thought that was interesting. He was the son of a lawyer. His dad was a lawyer. Surprisingly, they weren't wealthy. But yeah, his dad was a lawyer. They weren't really wealthy. At the time, he received like a modest education. He wasn't like super educated or anything like that. He was taught grammar, rhetoric, Latin, and he also became like a prolific chef, so he was a pretty good cook. But surprisingly, he never learned Greek. Like, Greek at that time was one of the centers, or Florence, where he was born. At that time, that was one of the centers of Greek scholarship in Europe. So he never learned Greek. He was in Italy in the 14th through the 17th century, the Renaissance time. Italy was it was fractured into a collection of polities, and it was constantly being overrun by different cities, like the Holy Roman Empire. I think France and Spain would always come in and they would try to take over Florence. But, Machiavelli, he was a very, when it came to strategy, war strategy, he wrote, one of his works was like The Art of War or something like that.
It was?
It was like The Art of War. So when it came to military strategy, he was very, very he was good at that. So he was placed in charge of, just the military affairs. In 1492, that Lorenzo, there was okay, so in 1492, Lorenzo, which I guess he was a ruler in 1492, he passed away. So the Medici Empire was it was overturned. And then that's when a Dominican preacher by the name of Savonarola, he ruled Florence for a short period of time. And then that was a short regime that ended up collapsing. And then the city returned to like a Republican government, and Machiavelli, that's when he embarked on his distinguished career. From 1498 to 1512, he was the secretary to the Second Chancery, charged with internal affairs. That's kind of how he got started. Between 1503 and 1506, Machiavelli, he was responsible for the Florentine militia, including cities of, well, he was responsible for the Florentine militia, including the city's defense. He also explained why Italy was so divided at the time. And then, like, he explained that through a lot of his theoretical work. He despised, like, mercenaries. He said they normally didn't have a vested interest in the city, and they would switch sides if offered more money. So that's why Florence was so, like, divided. His philosophy was that to better train he wanted to better train Florentine citizens because they actually had like a vested interest in the country. You know, they wouldn't turn like a mercenary would. So, you know, they just had a deeper love for their country. And, let's see. And and his many missions include like some of the most powerful rulers at the time, like King Louis Caesar, I think it's Caesar Borgia, Pope Julius II, the Emperor Maximilian, and there's one other one I left off, but those are some of the guys that he's learned from. And I guess to sum it up, I mean, two of his works, like two of his main works were The Prince, which is in the book. I'm sorry, I didn't even get to tell you guys what volume it was. Volume C, page 180. But two of his works, like were The Prince and The Art of War. Those were like his main works that he got famous from. So. Pretty much it.
Have you read The Art of War, and if so, what do you think about it?
I've read certain pieces of The Art of War, like a lot of what's going on in The Art of War. I don't know if you've read like a book called The 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. Like a lot of what he talks about in that book comes from Machiavelli, like a lot of those principles. But yeah, I've read certain pieces.